All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we're going to be finishing off the taxation section. Okay. So, here is your warm up picture. Now, the question is basically asking you, what is this artist trying to say about the national debt in our country? So, if you notice, the national debt is represented by something very big, and it's on takes over most of the image. And then if you look at the little building you see there, and you see the little American flag, that represents our country. So what is this artist trying to say? All right. So think about it, write your response. Okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. Now, here's the thing. Our tax money goes into several programs to help out the economy, provide security, uh, and basically help out our citizens. Now, one of the things that I hear all the time, and it just drives me nuts. And I hear it from you guys, people your age, and I am, you guys don't understand how things work quite all the way. You hear things on TikTok, you hear things on the internet, social media, some of that. So you just accept it. I can understand you guys not understanding it because again, you guys are so young and you don't question where you get your information. Whereas people my age and older, when they say stuff, which I'm going to share in a second, it just makes me cringe. Because the things I hear all the time is, oh, these politicians take our tax money and put it in their own pocket and things like that. Guys, no, they don't. Okay. The government does not hold or save any money. Okay. Every single dollar cent is accounted for. It's going someplace. Okay. Senators and congressmen, they don't just put it in their pocket and things like that and keep it. No. Okay. Um, Now, do senators and congressmen and people like that do shady stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do. So, like a great example would be like if one senator knew that the city was going to build new roads, that's, senator, congressman, assemblyman, whoever, they might own a construction company. So they would be like, how much is the lowest bid? So a company says, oh, we can do all that road work and some of that for 100,000. They might say, we'll do it for 90,000. And then guess who wins the bid? Oh, the one at 90,000. It just so happens to be their company. Or it might be one of their friends. And that friend would then kick some money to them. Okay, so yeah, our public officials, you know, some of them, maybe even a lot of them, again, I don't know the exact number, do shady stuff like that. Take things from lobbyists and some of that. But the fact of the matter is, they don't take from your taxes. They don't just like take your tax money and put it in their own pocket. Okay. So that's what I mean. That's the thing I just cringe. It makes me cringe when I hear that. Okay. Now the president basically every year has this plan of where our money should go, saying we should spend this much on education, this much on healthcare, this much on taking care of our veterans and stuff like that. It's Congress then who has to approve that budget. Now, in the last lesson, the last question I asked you, what are three programs you feel our tax money should go to? And the thing is, everyone was different. And some people might have the same first two or the same first and same third, but the thing is, the fact of the matter is, there are some common things. But if I was to tell me how much money we should put in each one, then the answers would be totally different. One might say they might have the same first one, but one might say we need to give them, um, you know, $100 million, whereas the other person would say we should give them $50 million. Well, there's a big difference between the 50 and 100 million, you know. So that's the thing. Okay, everything will be different. That's where Congress, the presidents have to realize like what's the importance? Where should we be spending our money at? Okay. Now, it's been going on for a while, but it's still true to this day that like over half, of our budget goes to defense, which means buying planes, ships, tanks, missiles, rockets, guns, ammunition, paying for our soldiers, food and some of that, gas for all the vehicles and some of that. Yeah, we spend half of our budgets on that. Okay, that's true. Now, sometimes money collected from taxes is not enough. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are like, well, how can it not be enough? Well, sometimes some politicians, especially the presidents, say, oh, we're going to give a tax cut to like the millionaires if you make over $250,000. Well, here's the thing, that tax money we would have gotten, it probably would have helped pay for some of the bills and some programs that we have in this country. But because they said we're not going to collect taxes from those people, now we have to borrow money to pay for that. So a lot of times the government will borrow money from other countries. Sometimes they'll borrow from banks, big banks, international banks. Um, so as of 2021, we owe Japan 1.29 uh, billion a trillion dollars. We owe China 1.04 trillion dollars. We owe Britain 566 billion dollars and Luxembourg 311.8 billion dollars. Now, this is a live look at our national debt. If you look at where it says U.S. national debt, that's how much we owe. It's as of right now, February 1st, 2024, at 10:11 p.m. We owe 34,155,861,000,000 and about to be $900,000. That's how much we owe. If you broke it down for every man, woman, and child in this country, to pay their fair share to get our debt down to zero, um, we would be, everyone would have to owe $101,000. Okay, that's what it says debt per citizen. And debt per taxpayer means forget kids, because they don't have a job. So basically, anyone who has a job that pays taxes, um, we would have to pay $264,000 for every man and woman who has a job and pays taxes. Okay. So if you look on the other side where the green is, you'll see US federal tax revenue. That's how much money we're making. Okay. Um, and if you notice, the debt is a little bit faster than the revenue. Okay. Because that's the thing. We're spending more than we're making a little bit. Okay. So, and if you keep looking through the little stuff on on here, you'll see this how much we spend on Medicare, Social Security, national defense. Um, you'll see the U.S. population. You know, uh, the average revenue per person. So like the average a person makes is $13,815, which isn't that much. You know, so this is a little great map to watch and look at. Um, Okay, so I just want to show you this so you can see how much we owe as a country. Okay, now here's the thing: when you take out a loan, and you will eventually, sometime in your life, to buy a car, buy a home, to buy furniture for your home, things like that, appliances, um, you're gonna have to take out a loan, and a loan, you'll have to pay that amount back with some interest. Now, interest is how a bank makes their money, and it's based off a percentage of basically they saying how much are you owe, how much are you asking for, and off that number, you know, they say, okay, well, you owe us like 25% or something like that. Now the interest rates range from zero, which is extremely rare. I mean, almost to the point of non-existent, all the way up to 100%, which is also too extremely rare and almost non-existent. Um, But this is mainly based off uh, your credit score in a lot of places. Um, if you get like a loan shark, they're not going to look at your credit score. They're just going to give you a high percentage interest rate. But for a bank, they will look at your credit score and say, okay, it's a good credit score, so we're going to give you a low percentage, you know, 2% to like 5%, 8%. If you okay credit, 10 to like 15. And if you have medium to low, not too great, 18 to 25. And if you have really bad credit, we're talking 30, 40% interest. So yeah, it can be get pretty high. So to give you an example, let's say, just for argument's sake, you borrow $1,000 and the interest rate is 25%. So if you do not pay all, like you'd say, you don't make a payment at all on that $1,000 loan. Um, After 1 month, you have to pay back now $1,250 because the $250 is 25% of $1,000. Okay. Now, let's say another month go by and you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna pay it. I'll just let it, keep, building up interest. Here's the thing. They're not gonna charge you another $250. No, no, no. They're gonna raise you more money because they're not gonna look at that $1,000. Now they're taking the 25% from the $1,250 you owe now. And that's now gonna bump it up to $1,562.50. That's an additional now $312.50 you have to pay. And guess what happens if you don't pay that month? Like you don't pay it all off. It's going to do 25% again, not off the $1,000, not off the $1,250, now off the $1,562.50. And it just builds up from there on. That's why a lot of people whom I grew up with and people older than me um, got into a lot of credit card debt and stuff like that because they got the credit card, they used it and never paid, their credit card bill. So they're like, wait, I maxed it out at $1,000, my credit card. Why do I all of a sudden I have to owe, $30,000? That's ridiculous. Well, because you never made a payment and the interest kept building and building and building and building and building. So now that thing you spent your $1,000 on, you probably don't even have it anymore. And now you owe $30,000 because you just let the interest grow and grow and grow. That's how people get into a lot of financial trouble and get into deep debt because they don't pay anything on that loan. Now, here's the thing: states, they can borrow money and states can fall into debt. Okay. California was at one point into really bad debt, and even like Mississippi, they got into really bad. They owed a lot of money, a lot of money. Now, here's the problem though: states and local governments, they can't borrow money from any other country. You know, they can't borrow money from France or Mexico and things like that because thing is they would be breaking to the international banking laws, and countries, even if they wanted to, they couldn't do it because they'll be breaking the law too, and they don't want to get in trouble with other banks. You know, now states can borrow money from this thing called municipal bonds. All right, municipal bonds are basically bonds where people who have a lot of money put, let's say, $10,000 in, $100,000 in, right? And states that need that money can take it from there, and then they have to pay back that money. So those people who have a lot of money put money into those bonds, they know I'm going to get my money back and more because the state needs it. So yeah, there are people who are banking off of a state that's not doing economically well, and they're going to make money off of them by loaning them money. Okay. Now, some of the questions I get asked quite a bit during this whole time, I put them into this part because it happens like almost every year. One of the first things I get asked all the time is this: if we're in debt, why don't we just print more money and pay off those people with that debt money, with all that money, and then we'd be out of a debt. Well, here's the thing. If we did that, that would lower the value of our dollar. So, like I've said in class, let's say hypothetically, Michael Jordan signs one basketball his entire career, entire life. One basketball, he wrote a signature on it, and that's it. And you have it. How much would that basketball be worth? It'd be astronomical, right? Because he never signed anything else except that one basketball, and you have it. So, because it's so rare, the value of it is going to be up here, right? Now, let's say Jordan signs everything. He has a pen ready to go and signs everything: the walls, the park benches, your grandma's forehead, the back of your dog's head. You know, he just writes everywhere. And let's say you have a piece of paper with a signature on it. Is it going to be worth anything? No, right? Because he signs everything. So that's the same thing with money. The more that's out there in circulation, the less value your dollar is. That's why counterfeiters are some of the worst criminals because they make your dollar worthless, you know? And that's why if you look at other countries around the world, if you go to, let's say, someplace in China, you know, your dollar is worth like 10,000 yen, or I think it's yen, if I remember right. Why is it so much? Because they have a lot of dollars. They printed out a bunch of dollars, and it's not worth anything. But your $1 American dollar, because it has weight to it, because it has value, um, is worth so much of theirs. You see? So yeah. So that's why we don't just print money out. And that's again why counterfeiters are really sought out and pursued by the Secret Service. Okay. Another question I get is it true the government burns money? Absolutely. Yes, they do. They burn old money, discontinued money, money that can be counterfeited, you know, and damaged dollars. Now, a student asked me yesterday, like, what do you mean damaged? I'm like, well, let's say someone accidentally tears up a $10 bill. You can tape it up and still go to the store and use that $10 and they will take it. Now, what happens is when you see those armored cars come, right, to the stores and so that, and they take a sack of money, in that sack, there is a ton of those damaged dollar bills, torn up ones, things like that. And what they do is they take that to the Federal Reserve and they are the ones who burn it. But what they do is they say, okay, well, from this store, we got like, you know, $5,000 of damaged dollars, old dollars, discontinued dollars. So what they'll do then is write a check to that store and send it to them so they can cash it in and get their money. Okay. So, yes, our government does destroy dollar bills. And again, it does help make our bills stronger because now there's less dollars in circulation. Okay. The last question I get quite a bit of time is what happens if the government doesn't pay our bills? What's going to happen? What's the war going to do? Send us a bill? In a sense, yes, kind of. Basically, what happens is this: just like how you and me are, um, our nation's credit score will drop. And from then, it's harder for us to get loans. And if we do get loans from banks in other countries, they're going to mark up the interest rate because they're like, hey, you don't pay your bills. So we're going to raise your interest rate. Now, if we do pay off our bills, you know, on time and, consistently, those other countries, they're going to give us a lot of loans and lower the interest rate because they know they're going to get their money back from us. It's almost a guarantee that they're going to get their money back and a little extra. So, of course, they're going to want to loan to us. But that's if we pay our bills on time. And sometimes politicians try to play chicken and they try to mess with that kind of stuff. And that only hurts us. Now, here's my question to you. What was one stat that really caught your eye when I showed you our national debt? Now, if by chance you just fast forward and didn't catch it, you may want to go back and then really look at that, all those numbers and some of that. If none of those numbers really caught your eye, answer the second question, which is, do you think that we will ever get our debt down to the low billions? So we were like, again, I think it was like $34 trillion. So do you think that we will ever, not tomorrow, maybe not in 10 years or 100 years, but sometime, some way, that we might get our debt down to the low billions, like $8 billion, $12 billion? What do you think? Yes or no? Why? Okay. So once you've answered this question, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.